Good morning, everyone, and welcome to RevOps in the age of AI. Over the past 12 months, we've watched AI move from experiment to expectation. Almost every RevOps leader we have talked to has been asked some version of the same question. What are we doing with AI? But underneath that is the more important one. Are we just layering AI on top of existing systems, or are we fundamentally rethinking how revenue operations should work in an AI native world? Today's panel is not just about hype, it's about architecture. It's about what actually drives revenue versus what just looks impressive on LinkedIn. I'm Bridget Azikar, CEO of HubSearch, and I'm joined by an incredible group of operators and builders who are living this shift every day. So we only have 30 minutes, so let's jump right in. I'm going to ask each of you on the panel for a tight 30-second intro, who you are, company and role, and one sentence on how AI is showing up in your world. Brian has me running a very tight agenda today, so 30 seconds is the key. We'll go in this order. Matt, Ryan, Darren, and Nick. Kick us off, Matt.
Bridget, I will achieve 30 seconds. Hey, I'm Matt Bullion, CEO of Supered. What we do is make humans your competitive advantage in the age of AI. It's very specific operator. I moved from ChatGPT to Claude and it's 3x my output. I did the entire offsite for my company using Claude, just creating a project file, putting everything in, and it changed how I see the world. It has 3x my output, and we are starting to implement it for every individual at Supered, has an AI budget, and uses Claude in their daily work. Period.
Hey guys, I'm Ryan Gunn. I'm the founder of Attribution Academy. We teach HubSpot marketers how to prove their impact on revenue. And it's hard to find an area, especially at work, where AI is not showing up. So where it's kind of showing up for me that's been surprising is in my personal life. I just started using an AI workout app. Like it's starting to sneak into these other areas that I'm used to, seeing it all day, every day at work, but now it's showing up everywhere.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. My name's Darren Smith. I'm the founder at Hubble. We're a HubSpot partner, been in the ecosystem since 2012. We're a global partner. In January, I stepped out of the role of running the company for the last 15 years. And so what I do is I spend all day, every day, researching AI and how that's going to change Hubble in the future. And so, yeah, I spend a huge amount of time in my head thinking about this topic.
Hey, everybody. Nick Zekitz. I run a little place called Smoke Signals AI that builds AI first go-to-market operating systems for HubSpot customers. Background, I've had 2 MarTech exits, both of which were rooted in machine learning. I was one of the first batch of co-founders in the IBM Watson ecosystem. And in terms of things that are kind of wild and fire, we just built an entire deal operating system native inside the HubSpot UI, drafting off of everything that's in the activity timeline, and did it in a couple of days with Claude Code and a couple of other things. And frankly, if you bought that software in the open market, it's $25K per year. So the world is a-changing.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. And thanks for keeping it to 30 seconds. I think we did it. All right. So we're jumping into our first question today. I'm going to kick this one to Matt. What has AI changed most about RevOps in the past 12 months?
Bridget, thank you for I didn't want to go first. Now I get to go first. This is great. What does AI change most in a world? I believe this because it is the need to know what you should do normatively is now the most important asset, which is very difficult. So if we're to have context in an AI first world, for you to have AI inside of your revenue system, you must have a data architecture and the context in which it should judge against. So do you know what your revenue architect should look like? Do you know what data looks right? That now is the most important thing. Not what can I do? That's not the question. It's only what should I do? And being able to answer that's very difficult. So excited about the academy are starting. Things like what the academies will be a very important place for us to upskill faster as humans, because that will be the skill that sells, the skill that makes you very valuable to a company.
Thank you for that. Ryan, I'd love to get your take on this too.
Yeah, I agree with Matt. Selfishly, I think, academies are probably going to start taking the place of some of those entry-level roles where you used to learn the ropes. Those activities that entry-level roles are doing are increasingly being done by AI. So you have to find your learning elsewhere. But the other thing I would say is that AI is increasingly being built into the tools we already use. Already covered that like copy and paste dance. You don't really have to do that anymore. Now it's native. It's inside HubSpot. It's inside probably every other GTM tool you use. And I think the thing that's changed is now the hard part is getting all of those different AI tools to talk to one another, to share data, have that shared holistic view of the context of your business and work together.
Thank you for that insight. Darren, I'm going to kick this next question to you. So there's a big difference between using AI tools and becoming AI native. What does an AI native RevOps function actually look like?
So I'm going to give you a hot take on this. I think we've got blockchain, and blockchain is a method of pretty much recording and proving what you have done. And I think a truly AI native RevOps function will be able to use the tokens and so on that you are consuming with everything you do, whether you're having a meeting, whether you are planning a to-do list like Matt was referring to, or whether you integrate in some tools, you have got proof that you've done it. Because I think we've got so many customers, whether you're an agency owner or a freelancer, that question, why did it take this long? Have you really done this? Did you take a walk around the park while you're doing this? And I think if you're truly, truly AI native, you'll be able to use those tokens to say, well, this is what I was doing and when I was doing it.
Nick, what's your take on it? Do you have the same hot take?
And this is to say what the implications of AI is for a modern RevOps function?
Yes.
Relevance. I don't think RevOps, pardon me, I don't think it's mattered for jack squat, right? It's been an operational role. Tell me what I'm supposed to pay my sales reps based on quotas and attainment and all. Dude, what? That's lame. That's the most boring work on planet Earth. It doesn't matter. It's like all automatable. If that's what you're defining as your RevOps future, straight up, you're out of a job. That's like factually, that job is gone. Relevancy, however, is what I think AI is visiting upon RevOps, because I actually think that AI and signal data and those types of things have the capacity to tie the entirety of the go-to-market organization together and become single-threaded. Content should be driven by the signal and the AI insights that are coming from sales and CS activities, right? The marketing activity should dynamically be informing exactly what the sales rep is supposed to do. Who's supposed to do that job? RevOps. Or the modern RevOps, whatever anybody wants to call it, whatever. Like that to me is actually what's happening, is that RevOps folks are going to find themselves in one of two timelines. One that is really scary and dismal and will disappear, and the other one where it's a 10x impact, 100x impact on the capacity of GTM. I believe it is that bifurcated. It is one or the other, but it is a choice that everyone in RevOps is going to have to make like now as to who they want to be. And I can't imagine anybody wants to go down the crappy timeline.
So I see some people agreeing in the chat, some people disagreeing. Matt, what's your take on this?
Oh gosh, I said back in 2023, maybe it was 2022, that we are in the rise of the strategic tactician. And so it just goes is you will both need to know how to use the tool, because AI does get things wrong. And even if you know the context to be relevant, you must know how to use the software. And you must be able to communicate strategically above the function of sales compensation. You got to know why sales compensation is important. That has always been true. So I would say the people that have truly been in RevOps will become 10x employees, and the people who have not, their technical skill matter less than it did, I think, is what I'm trying to communicate. And strategic, understanding business level, reading a P&L, understanding cash flow, understanding why the questions are being asked in the first place, becomes the most important questions to answer for RevOps.
I think Jason got really excited in the chat because the beginning part of what you just said described AirOps to a T. So there you go. Might break when you try to go AI native with a CRM that's been running for 5 years, Ryan.
I think that plenty of stuff could break. It all comes down to data quality. I mean, AI does not know the difference between good and bad data. A human being can look at a report and say, that doesn't seem right. Like, let me dive deeper into the data and figure out what might be causing these numbers that I didn't expect. AI is going to look at it and say, well, I was trained on this data, so it must be true. There's no kind of evaluation there. And if your CRM is full of bad data, you're going to get bad output. Anything that you are doing with that data. I think of this especially when it comes to like customer facing communications and content, like an AI SDR is a great example. You could just absolutely tank your company's reputation if you're using a bunch of bad data in an AI SDR and it's doing outreach at scale that is, inaccurately personalized. So that would be like one of my biggest concerns is like, how is AI showing up for my company in public? And is it using accurate data?
Yeah, I have a lot of different conversations with HubSpot customers, and I'd say top 3 reasons they talk to me is like they tell me their data is not accurate. So I hear that all the time on my end. Okay, so we'll jump to the next question. I'm going to kick this to Nick. In an AI native world, what is HubSpot? Is it still the brain, or does it become the system of record while AI becomes the system of reasoning?
I don't know. I think it depends on what HubSpot does with their capacity to hold on to information, right? If you get out of an hour-long sales call and you want to write that transcript to HubSpot, HubSpot can't handle that many characters in a text property. It's a problem. Or in a note, you can't put it there. And we're now moving into an age where we need all kinds of capacity for that. I think the other thing that people really miss, because I think we're still at a very summary level, let's say you have a year of sales calls. Where are you going to put that? What engine's going to understand that, right? If you're not familiar with vector databases and chunking methodologies and things like this, you're not going to access that information. To Matt's point before about garbage in, garbage out, it's not just garbage in, but it's the processing layer in between what's in and what then comes out. And I think that that's a huge piece that a lot of people who are currently, I think, playing with AI, like microcosmically, I think are not yet, they haven't run into the problem yet. But as the problem evolves and becomes clear, it's going to be very interesting to see what HubSpot does to play a role in the system. And right now, I would say that there's a rapidly emerging, for the most advanced users of AI and go-to-market, a rapidly emerging requirement for a middle layer. And it's almost as if we're back to talking about systems that we thought we didn't need anymore. It's like, man, I don't need Snowflake because everything integrates to my HubSpot and I can just get it all in there. Nope, not true, right? So it's like, I think that this is going to be a really interesting period where the volume of information requires a translational layer to enable AI to do anything very well. And it is a technical fact that HubSpot does not have that. Can it be home to a lot of it? For sure. Like for sure. But I think it's really important to kind of think about the realities of what is going to happen as we try to understand and translate more of that information into useful assets and next steps.
Darren, what's your perspective on this?
Yeah, I think Nick makes some good points. So there certainly are some issues with HubSpot's ability to store data. Is it a CDP? Is it a data warehouse? Does it need to be that? I'll answer the question in a slightly different way. I think it can be both. And I'm sure HubSpot's going to go in that direction where it will be the system of record and the system of reasoning. I think what's going to change, though, is user interfaces. And I think that's the same for all software as a service and all software companies. They need to be not be precious about the way that they want you to navigate their software, because most people won't be going into a user GUI interface and clicking the various buttons and so on to do what they want to do. They're going to instruct what they want done via an AI interface, and that might be the AI interfaces we see today, but most likely there'll be some sort of voice interfaces in the future.
Thanks for your insight there. Matt, which RevOps processes today is closest to being fully automated?
Yeah, I'm going to give this answer is I used to be in military intelligence. So I did as a job before I did RevOps. And one of the things they teach you is to think about the first order effects of something, the second order effects of some things, and the third order effects of some things. And the third order effect is like seeing around a corner. So you're asking me, when I'm sitting here and I look at all our functions, and I've been trying to include, so I'm out there trying to implement this for the company of Super to get this done. And AI is yet to replace any function inside of Super today. So someone might say, hey, AI SDR, I've tried some of it, has not worked. So for me, the function it does best for me today is I have a data structure that I want replicated that will help me get insight into the business, where I can create insight, hindsight, and foresight. The function it is most got rid of me for a day is actually executive management for myself. That's the function it's gotten rid of for me. It's allowed me to not have to hire a strategist beside me, that I can do that work. That's what it's done for me today at Super. Now, will it do something else? Maybe. I'm just saying today, the function is strategic planning to a data architecture so I can see where I have holes and where I should put human effort to figure out the system. That's what it's doing for me today.
And what about you?
I think I'm going to take a little bit more of a tactical approach to this in terms of like what AI can automate today. I think it's a lot of the little things that take up RevOps teams' times that are not actually a good use of their time. So the one that comes to mind, like I'm sure that there are RevOps people out there that pretty much all they do is just like pull a report for CEO or, create a property or like move some stuff around. And it's these like little tiny things that, they take 30 seconds. I mean, building a report might take longer, but it's little things, but they add up and they are constantly coming in the door. You always have people hitting you up on Slack saying, "Hey, can you do this for me? Can you do that for me?" And I think AI is democratizing some of that. I mean, today, right now, you can go into HubSpot and you can ask Breeze to build a report for you, and it will do a reasonably good job, like definitely good enough that you can get the information you need. If you need that data to be like sliced and diced in a different way, you need to like, put some additional filters on it or break down a bar chart in a different way. Yeah, maybe you hit up your RevOps team, but I think it's going to remove a lot of those small requests and free up RevOps team's time, hopefully to do more strategic work. And hopefully the RevOps people out there that's all they do have higher ambitions and aren't just going to be completely replaced.
That lets them focus on like higher value things than the kind of more admin tasks that they have to accomplish.
Exactly.
Okay, Nick, what do teams try to automate with AI too early, and why doesn't it work?
Really, this is going to be probably an entirely useless blanket answer. But everything, I by and large think that people are using AI and they're like, oh, magically, like our current sales process sucks, but I'm going to use AI to build an entirely new one. I'm sorry, what? If you haven't figured out manually how to write a great sales email or a follow-up or a proposal, AI just turns into a capacity to scale internal slop, right? And then it just becomes nonsense. And I think it's really interesting. A lot of the work that we do with customers, it's sitting down and just asking a boatload of questions and being like, all right, I'm going to sit here for 2 hours and write the most badass outbound email I possibly can. I'm going to sit here for 3 days and write a deck that absolutely rocks. And I'm going to write down all the reasons, but am I going to use AI along the way to coach me and give me tips and pointers and context and all? For sure, right? I'll use the AI as a co-pilot, but I think the idea that I'm going to skip the co-pilot kind of manual, heavy human effort phase when I don't know that I've got a motion that's working really well and jumping straight to the automation and AI enablement is where I think a lot of these like AI efforts for sales and marketing organizations are crapping the bed, right? It's like, oh, AI doesn't work for us. Well, your process didn't work for you. And then you decided to slap AI on it without any consideration or translation to excellence. And that's the mistake, right? Like, also a place where humans are wildly, wildly valuable and will be for, I think, a long time.
Thanks, Nick. Darren, what's your take? Similar to Nick or different opinion here?
Yeah, I would say everything as well. But I think the thing that is missing is the lack of change management. HubSpot, easy, fast, integrated. Everybody knows that. We've won so many deals because HubSpot is easy to use. Breeze is easy to use. But people are still scared of AI. So the amount of change management that you need to do is as though you're training someone to use Salesforce or something like that, because it requires that much effort. So everything is going to fail unless you invest heavily in change management.
Okay, thanks, Darren. Matt, what processes should never be autonomous?
This is really hard to predict. I'm going to say this again. So I'm going to say, we talk about third order, second order, first order. I think we can talk about a world that we think will be very difficult to predict. As humans, we often get it wrong via hype cycles. People said there would be no brick and mortar stores. They were absolutely wrong, although internet did change how we purchase forever. However, there's some brick and mortar stores that literally make their money by getting you into their store, and that's what they're known for. So I just want to be clear, like us to like, what are we getting rid of? What does it change? What never gets rid of? So for me, I have this belief that that one of the third order effects that will happen is humans will actually be more important, not less. Humans will be more important, not less. In fact, your competitive differentiation will be how human can you make this feel? People are going to be. So that's a belief I have third. Not everybody shares that third order effect. I do. So when you're asking what, thus it defines what I'm not changing. So one of the things I don't change, I never let an AI write any recap email for anybody on my sales team, period, ever. Everybody has to send a Loom video with a video. Why? I believe that becoming human first is the most important thing, and to give that experience. So I think if you apply that mindset, there's a lot of different, again, I believe in having a framework and then effectuating the framework against something. So my framework is where will the human be competitive and help you win deals? So I think those points where you're contacting with a customer, we're actually going to put more humans in those locations. I call it last mile delivery. I call it the touchdown, the red zone. That's where humans will be. That's where they spend most of their time. And that's what will create competitive advantage for customers in the future. Big, strong believer in that. I do not believe in a world where agents talk to agents and purchase, and I don't want to live in that world if it is. So I think there's another part of that.
Love that perspective. All right, Ryan, we're going to move on to the next question. Everyone says AI is only as good as your data. In practice, what actually breaks when AI hits messy CRM data?
Pretty much what I said before. I mean, it's everything. AI will confidently tell you inaccurate information if your CRM data is bad. And a human analyst who is looking at it would probably couch it with like, I think, but an AI will look at your data. It doesn't know what's good and what's bad, and it will say, here's your answer. This is exactly what it is. And it's going to tell it to you with so much confidence that if you yourself don't know kind of what to expect or what you're looking for, if you don't have the context you need and the understanding of your business, then you're not going to know. This just happened to my wife. She was working on a project and they were using AI to pull a report, and her boss looked at the report and didn't ask any questions. Turns out it was inflating their the revenue that they were getting from a particular product by like 50%. So, and they found that out like 2 weeks later when someone actually dug into the data. But it's crazy. It has that like sycophantic kind of personality to it where it's just going to tell you wrong information accurately if it's trained on bad data.
So everyone needs to have their data clean in HubSpot.
Yes, it's one of the most important things you can do. I run I instruct for the AI bootcamp for HubSpot Academy, and next week is our second week of this cohort, and it is entirely about preparing your CRM data for using AI. Before we even get into any of the use cases, we are talking about like, how do you prep for it? How do you set up your CRM in a way where AI will be useful to you?
Thanks for that perspective. Nick, are most RevOps teams ready for AI agents?
No. I mean, they can be. Like, I think the distance between current state and readiness is actually not that far. And I think the good news is that a lot of RevOps practitioners are inherently tinkerers and scientists and are eager to play with new tools. And I think that puts someone in a good position, kind of giving where tooling is right now, right? And that wasn't true up until about 90 days ago, frankly, from my perspective. I think the advent of Opus 4.6 was the first time that you could, as a non-true dev, engage with an LLM and receive something that made any sense whatsoever and had some degree of stability, right? But I think the thing that's really interesting on the readiness is I think there's a lot of, it is an absolute fact that LinkedIn is flooded with people who do not know jack squat about AI, acting as though they are experts in AI, right? That is insane to me. And that is what is defining everything. And everybody's like, well, if I were to ask most quote unquote agent practitioners what an agent is, I would ask 10 people and I would get 10 different definitions. There aren't 10 definitions. That's insane. But the the ability to learn the difference between a prompt and a skill and an agent and a crew and an orchestration layer. And like, it's actually not that hard to learn. It's just that everybody's out on, LinkedIn being like, comment bullshit bonanza for my 74, N8N process. And it's like, dude, I could literally cut it out, right? Like, this is such nonsense. But it actually isn't that brutal to learn the fundamentals. And I think that if everybody just took a minute and learned the fundamentals and then took a little time and said, does everybody mind if I go into our sandbox and just try to build some stuff with the HubSpot developer MCP out of Claude Code? Don't worry if it looks great, but I'm just going to start playing. Once you have that kind of foundational framework, I think most like smart, good RevOps people can go from 0 to pretty decent in a couple of weeks' time. Like, I don't think it takes much longer than that. Deploying and being super useful, maybe you're 2 months out from really crushing it on behalf of your org. But I do think that there's some like foundational, what are the words that we're using and what do they really mean? And do I know it, right? Clear from any of the thought leader nonsense that's like barking all over LinkedIn.
Thanks for your insight here. I got to close this out. It's already 11:59. That was super quick. So we could easily spend another hour on this, but here's what I hope everyone takes away. AI is not placing RevOps. It's redefining what great RevOps looks like. The future isn't about adding more tools. It's about better architecture, better judgment, and better operators. The teams that win won't be the ones who automate the most. They'll be the ones who understand where human reasoning ends and machine reasoning begins and design accordingly. Huge thank you to Matt, Ryan, Darren, and Nick for sharing real perspective instead of buzzwords. And to everyone here, the question isn't whether AI is coming to RevOps. It's whether you're designing it intentionally or reacting to it later.